The desert world was silent. A soft wind moved across the broken rocks, carrying with it the sound of emptiness. The traveler walked slowly, his boots pressing against the dry ground. He had been alone for many days, moving from one ruined settlement to another, searching for signs of life. His pack was almost empty, and the weight of hunger pressed against his body. But more than hunger, it was the silence that troubled him. A silence too deep, too heavy, as if the land itself was holding its breath. The ruins stood before him like the skeleton of a once great city. Towers broken in half, streets buried under dust, doors hanging loose from their frames. The place smelled of age and sadness. He wondered what had lived here before. Were they gone forever? Or were they hiding somewhere in the shadows, waiting for him? He stepped into a wide square. The sun was weak red behind the clouds. His eyes scanned the broken walls, and for a moment he thought he saw movement, a flicker of shape between the stone arches. He froze. His hand moved to the small weapon at his side, not out of aggression, but out of fear. Out here on worlds like these, anything could happen. The sound came first, a whisper. Then another. The traveler turned. From the edge of the square, 3 figures appeared. Thin, pale, and wrapped in torn cloth, they moved slowly, as if every step cost them strength. Their heads were bent, but their eyes, when they lifted them, shone with a strange, desperate fire. The traveler's breath caught in his throat. They were not human, not exactly. Their faces were longer, their skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Their eyes were large, reflecting the dim light in a way that made them seem alive with something more than need. He had seen many species across the stars, but never one so fragile. Yet in that fragility, there was something unsettling, something that made the hair on his arms rise. One of them raised a shaking hand. The voice that came was thin, broken by weakness, but clear enough to strike his heart. "Do you have any food left?" The traveler blinked. The question was so simple, so human, and yet so heavy with meaning. He did not answer at first. He only stared at them, their eyes locked on him wide and unblinking. He had food, just a little, barely enough for himself. Sharing it would mean risking his own survival, but the way they looked at him, it was not just hunger. It was something deeper, something that felt like fear mixed with hope, as if his answer could change more than just their empty stomachs. He slowly reached into his pack, pulling out a small ration pack. The thin figure stepped closer, trembling with every movement. The traveler could see the bones under its skin, the way its body shook, but also the sharp intelligence burning in its eyes. He held out the pack, his hand tight, not letting go at once. Something in him whispered to be careful. Something about the way they stared made him feel like he was handing over more than food. The alien took the ration with shaking fingers. The other 2 moved closer, silent, their eyes never leaving him. They opened the pack quickly and shared it, their hands moving like desperate animals, but their faces never losing that strange, haunting look. The traveler felt his stomach twist. He had seen hunger before, but this was different. This was hunger born not just of need, but of something larger, something that carried a secret he could not yet see. When the last piece of food was gone, the leader of the 3 wiped its mouth and looked at him again. For a long moment they only stared. Then, with a voice soft as the wind, it spoke. "We were waiting for you." The words struck him like a blow. Waiting for him? How could they know he was coming? He had only landed here by chance, searching for supplies, searching for answers. His mouth felt dry. His hand moved unconsciously back to his weapon, though he did not draw it. "Why?" he asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. The alien leader did not answer. Instead, its eyes widened, and in them the traveler saw something that made his heart race. Not just hunger, not just need, but a shadow of fear, a shadow of guilt, and something else, something darker, watching from behind those eyes. The silence grew heavy again. The wind moved across the ruined square. The traveler felt the weight of their gaze pressing against him, stronger than words. Whatever secret these beings carried, it was not simple. It was not just about food. And deep inside, he knew this first meeting was not the end, but the beginning of something much larger, something that would test not only his survival, but the truth of what it meant to be human. The square was silent again. The traveler stood still, the last of his food gone, his mind spinning with the alien's words. "We were waiting for you." The sentence kept repeating in his head like an echo he could not silence. Why would strangers on a ruined world far from human space say such a thing? He had not told anyone his course. He had not planned to land here. It was chance, or at least it should have been. The three aliens crouched in the dust, chewing the scraps of his ration pack with a desperate speed. Their hands moved quickly, but their eyes never left him. Even as they ate, they watched him, as if every bite depended on his permission. That stare unsettled him. Hunger he could understand. Desperation he could understand. But this quiet attention, this strange focus, it was different. The traveler stepped back, putting a little space between them. His fingers brushed the small weapon at his side again, but he did not draw it. They did not look like fighters. Their bodies were too weak, too thin. And yet, something about them whispered danger. Not in their strength, but in the way they seemed to know something he did not. When the food was gone, the leader rose slowly. Its body shook with weakness, but its gaze was steady. It stepped closer to him, raising its hands as if in peace. The traveler tensed, ready for a trick, but no attack came. Instead, the alien spoke again, its voice still thin, but stronger now that food filled its stomach. "You are not the first," it said softly. The traveler frowned. "Not the first, what?" The alien tilted its head. "Not the first human." A chill slid down his back. His mouth went dry. "Others have been here?" The alien did not answer directly. It only looked at him with eyes that seemed too deep, too knowing. Then it turned, pointing toward the broken towers at the edge of the square. "They came, they gave. They were taken." The traveler's pulse quickened. Taken by whom? Or by what? His hand tightened on his weapon, but he held his ground. He needed answers more than he needed safety now. "Taken where?" he pressed. The alien's lips trembled. Its eyes flickered with something. Fear, yes, but also guilt. It looked to the other two, who bowed their heads as if ashamed. Finally, the leader whispered a word that felt heavy in the air, though he did not understand it. "The Dark Ones." The sound of those words seemed to chill the air. The traveler did not know the meaning, but his instincts told him enough. Whoever or whatever the Dark Ones were, they were the reason this world lay in ruins. And if humans had been here before, they had not left by choice. The leader leaned closer, its voice now urgent, its eyes shining with intensity. "You must leave. If you stay, they will come. They always come." The traveler felt his heart pound. He wanted to leave, yes. Every part of him screamed to run back to his ship, to escape this cursed place. But the way they stared at him, the way they had been waiting, told him it was not so simple. If he tried to go, would they let him? Or were they keeping him here for something more? "Why me?" he asked suddenly, his voice sharp. "Why were you waiting for me?" For the first time, the alien leader looked away. Its eyes dropped to the dust at its feet, as if the weight of the truth was too heavy to carry. When it spoke again, the words were quiet, almost ashamed. "Because they asked for you." The traveler's blood ran cold. He took a step back, shaking his head. "That's impossible." "You don't even know me." The alien's voice rose, trembling with both fear and desperation. "They knew. They said a human would come. They said one day across the stars a human would walk this place and we must give him to them. And now, here you are." The silence that followed was thick, pressing, suffocating. The traveler's breath quickened. His eyes darted to the shadows, to the ruins, to the dark shapes of towers against the red sky. He felt suddenly watched, as if eyes were on him from places unseen. The other two aliens began whispering, their voices low, shaking. He could not understand their words, but their tone was clear. Fear, urgency, waiting for something to arrive. The traveler clenched his jaw. He was no fool. He had walked across too many worlds to mistake coincidence for fate. Something was coming, something that wanted him. And these frail beings, were they protectors? Or were they luring him into a trap? The leader's eyes met his again. And in that gaze, the traveler saw the truth. It was both. They feared the Dark Ones, yes, but they also feared what would happen if they disobeyed them. And so, caught between terror and survival, they would betray him if they had to. The wind rose suddenly, carrying with it a distant sound. A low hum, almost like a growl, rolling across the ruins. The aliens froze, their faces pale. One of them whispered a single word, trembling. "They are here," the traveler's heart thundered. His hand gripped his weapon tight now, no longer hesitating. Whatever waited in the dark, it was coming. And he knew, with a sharp stab of certainty, that the encounter was only beginning. The sound grew louder. It was not a roar, not a machine, but something in between. A low, vibrating hum that made the stones of the ruined square tremble. The traveler felt the vibration crawl up through his boots and into his bones. His hand tightened around his weapon. The three aliens froze in place, their bodies stiff, their eyes wide with terror. "They come," the leader whispered, voice shaking. The traveler looked into the shadows between the broken towers. The air shimmered faintly as if something unseen moved there. Shapes flickered in the corner of his vision. Never clear, never still. He blinked hard, but each time he looked, the shapes slipped away, as if they lived just outside the reach of sight. "What are they?" he demanded, his voice sharp. The leader turned its head slowly, its eyes hollow with fear. "The Dark Ones, the Eaters. They took our world, and they will take you too." The traveler felt his chest tighten. "Eaters of what?" "Flesh, food." The alien shook its head. "Not only flesh. They eat hope. They eat the will to fight. They take everything until nothing is left." The words made his skin crawl. He had seen death before. He had seen war, starvation, the collapse of colonies. But this was different. This was something worse, something that killed not just the body but the spirit. The humming grew stronger. Dust fell from the ruins, shaken loose by the unseen presence. The traveler's instinct screamed at him to run, but he forced himself to stay. He needed to know more. He needed to understand. "How long have they been here?" he asked. The leader's voice cracked as it answered. "Since before our memory. Since before our fathers' fathers. They came from the sky, silent, endless. We gave them our food, our land, our bodies, but it was never enough. They took and took until nothing remained. We are all that is left." The traveler stared at them. These fragile beings, thin as shadows, were the remnants of a people consumed, and now somehow these Dark Ones wanted him. His stomach twisted. Why him? Why humans? The other two aliens clung to each other, whispering in their strange tongue. Their eyes darted toward the edges of the square where the shadows grew thicker, darker. The leader took a step closer to the traveler. "You must go," it said urgently. "You must leave before they come fully. The Dark Ones, they smell you. They follow the scent of your kind." The traveler's breath caught. "My kind?" "Yes," the leader said, its voice breaking. "Humans, they hunger for you. We do not know why, but when they spoke to us, when they made their demands, they asked for humans. They promised to leave us alive if we gave you to them. So we waited, and now, you are here." The traveler's blood ran cold. The whispers of betrayal from before were true. These beings had struck a deal to save themselves. "And he was the price. You'd hand me over to them?" His voice was low, dangerous. The leader flinched but did not deny it. "If we do not, they will take us all. You do not understand. They cannot be fought. They are not flesh. They are not machine. They are hunger made real. You cannot win." The traveler's jaw clenched. He had heard that before. On war fronts, on dying worlds, people always said, "You cannot win." And yet sometimes, against impossible odds, humans had found a way. It was what made them survive, what made them different. He took a step back, scanning the ruins. The humming sound was closer now, pressing against his ears like a swarm moving just beyond the veil of sight. His instincts screamed danger. His heart hammered. He knew he was being hunted. "Show me," he said suddenly, turning to the leader. The alien blinked, confused. "Show you what?" "Show me what they are. If I'm to be their prey, I want to see the hunters." The leader's face twisted with fear. "No, to see them is to invite them, to call them closer." "They're already here," the traveler said, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. "I can feel them." "So show me." The leader trembled. For a moment it looked as if it would refuse. But then slowly it raised a hand and pointed toward the far end of the square, where the ruins melted into a collapsed street. The traveler followed its gaze. At first there was nothing. Only the broken stones, the shifting dust. Then a shimmer. A ripple in the air like heat above desert sand. The ripple grew, twisting, forming a shape that was not a shape. A darkness that was not shadow. It pulsed as if alive, and from it came the sound. The low, endless hum that made the traveler's skin crawl. His grip tightened on his weapon. His breath slowed. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to escape before that thing fully stepped into this world. But he forced himself to stand. He would not turn away. The leader's voice broke behind him, filled with terror. "Do not look too long. If you look too long, it will look back." The traveler swallowed hard, eyes locked on the ripple. And then for a heartbeat he swore he saw eyes in the dark, vast, endless, and hungry. The world seemed to tilt. The air grew heavy, and deep inside he knew the warning was not just words. The Dark Ones were real, and they were coming for him. Night came quickly. The red sun sank behind the broken towers, leaving only shadows stretched across the ruins. The traveler sat near the remains of a wall, his back against the stone, his weapon close to hand. The three aliens huddled together a short distance away, whispering in their strange language. Their voices were soft, fearful, as if they were afraid that even their words might call attention to them. The traveler had seen many nights on many worlds, but this one felt different. The air was too still, too heavy. The silence pressed down on him, broken only by the faint hum that rolled across the ruins like distant thunder. He could not see the Dark Ones, but he could feel them. They lingered at the edges of his senses, always out of sight, always watching. His stomach was empty, but hunger was the least of his concerns now. He kept his eyes fixed on the shifting shadows. Sometimes he thought he saw shapes moving, tall, thin forms sliding between the walls. Other times he thought he heard footsteps, but when he turned there was nothing. The Dark Ones were playing with him, circling, testing, waiting for the right moment to strike. The leader of the aliens shuffled closer, its thin frame trembling. Its eyes glowed faintly in the starlight, wide with fear. "You must not sleep," it whispered. "They come when you close your eyes." The traveler gave a dry laugh, though there was no humor in it. "I wasn't planning on it." The alien nodded quickly, almost desperate. "Good. To dream is to open yourself. They crawl through dreams. They eat from inside first before they take the body." The traveler felt a chill slide down his spine. He stared at the leader, wondering if it was speaking metaphor or truth. But the terror in its eyes told him it was no story. The Dark Ones were not just predators of flesh, they were something worse. The night deepened. The ruins seemed to change in the darkness, twisting into unfamiliar shapes. The traveler shifted uncomfortably. He hated waiting. He hated being hunted. If they wanted him, why didn't they strike? Why play with him like a cat circling prey? Then it happened. A sound, sharp, close. The snap of stone under weight. The traveler leapt to his feet, weapon raised. The aliens gasped, pressing against the wall in fear. Out of the corner of his eye he caught movement, a tall, thin shadow sliding across the square. His pulse raced. He turned, but the figure was gone, leaving only empty dust. Another sound behind him this time. He spun again, weapon steady. Nothing. Only the whisper of the wind. The leader clutched at his arm, trembling. "Do not chase them. That is what they want. If you follow, you will not return." The traveler shook off the hand but stayed where he was. His instincts screamed at him to move, to act, but he forced himself to stay still. If the Dark Ones wanted him, they would come. He would not play their game. Minutes stretched into hours. The ruins seemed alive with whispers. Shadows flickered, shapes crawled at the edges of his sight. The humming grew louder, deeper, until it felt like the stones themselves were shaking. The other two aliens began to cry softly, rocking back and forth. Then from the far side of the square came a sound unlike any other. A voice, hungry. The traveler's blood turned to ice. The word was in his own language. Clear. Human. He raised his weapon, pointing it toward the sound. "Show yourself," he shouted, though his voice cracked under the weight of fear. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. For a moment, the traveler's breath caught. It was a man. A human. Tall, strong, dressed in old gear, his face pale but familiar. The aliens wailed in terror, pressing their hands over their eyes. "Do not look. Do not look." But the traveler could not look away. The figure stepped closer, smiling faintly. "Do you remember me?" The voice asked, soft, almost kind. "We came here once. We thought we could win. We thought we were strong." The traveler shook his head. "No, you're not real." The figure's smile widened and its eyes shifted. They were not human eyes. They were deep, endless black, shining with hunger. The air around it shimmered, and for a moment the human form melted away, leaving only shadow and teeth. The traveler fired. The weapon's blast lit up the square, striking the thing full in the chest. It staggered but did not fall. Instead, it laughed, a sound like metal tearing, like bones breaking. The leader pulled at the traveler's arm. "We told you they cannot be killed. Run!" But the traveler did not run. His heart pounded, his body shook, but his mind was sharp. If the Dark Ones wanted him, he would not give them the pleasure of fear. He had faced monsters before. He had survived wars, storms, and the void of space itself. He would not bow to shadows. The thing stepped closer, its dark form stretching, filling the air with a stench like burning ash. More shadows slid from the ruins, dozens of them. Circling, closing in, the humming became a roar. The traveler steadied his weapon. His voice was steady, though his body trembled. "If you want me," he said, "come and take me." And with those words, the hunt truly began. The traveler stood firm, weapon raised, as the shadows pressed closer. The humming had grown so loud it felt like the air itself was vibrating. The dark ones circled him, never stepping fully into the light, always shifting, always changing. Their eyes, if they were eyes, glowed faintly in the dark. Endless, hungry, watching. The three aliens cowered against the broken wall. Two of them had buried their faces in their hands, whispering prayers. Only the leader still looked on, though its body trembled. Its wide eyes glistened, not just with fear, but with something else. The traveler caught the look and felt his stomach twist. There was more here, something the alien had not told him. The first shadow creature lunged, darting forward like a streak of smoke. The traveler fired, the blast cutting through the dark. The figure staggered back, screeching in a voice that did not sound alive. The others hissed, the sound sharp and cold like knives scraping together. The traveler stepped back, his heart hammering. His weapon shook in his hands. They could be hurt, yes, but not killed, and with so many of them it was only a matter of time. He turned his head slightly toward the alien leader. "Tell me the truth," he shouted over the roar of the humming. "Why me? Why do they want humans?" The leader froze, its lips trembling. It looked at the traveler, then away, then back again. Its eyes shone in the dim light, and in them the traveler saw it. Guilt. Heavy, crushing guilt. The alien's voice broke, barely audible over the noise. "We promised them." The traveler's blood ran cold. "Promised what?" The alien's hands shook. "You, a human. Long ago when they came, they gave us a choice. Give them one of your kind when one arrives, and they will leave us alive. Refuse, and they take us all." The words hit like a blade. The traveler's throat went dry. His mind raced. All this time, the stares, the hunger, the strange silence, it all made sense. They weren't just desperate. They were waiting. They had been waiting for him. "You were going to hand me over," he said, his voice low and sharp. "That's why you gave me food. That's why you kept me here. You were never saving me. You were feeding me to them." The alien's face twisted with shame. "We had no choice," it cried, tears streaming down its thin cheeks. "They would kill us all if we refused. You do not understand their hunger. It never ends. We tried to fight. We tried to run, but nothing worked. We made the bargain and we survived. Only we survived." The traveler's eyes narrowed. Rage boiled inside him, but not just at them, at the creatures in the dark, at the universe itself. How many humans had been here before him? How many had been given away like cattle, sacrificed to keep these fragile beings alive? "You should have told me," he growled. The leader shook its head, sobbing. "If we told you, you would have fled. And if you fled, they would have followed. They would have destroyed us all. Please, forgive us." The traveler's hands trembled on his weapon. He wanted to pull the trigger, not on the dark ones, but on the traitors before him. And yet, he saw the truth in their eyes. They were victims too. Broken, desperate, clinging to survival. Their guilt was real. Their fear was real. They had traded others to live one more day because they could not bear to vanish into nothing. Another shadow lunged, forcing him to fire again. The blast lit the ruins, throwing sharp light on the alien leader's face. And in that brief flash, the traveler saw something else in those eyes. Not just guilt, not just fear, but a strange flicker, hope. For what? His mind raced. Perhaps they believed he was different. That this human might succeed where others had failed. That maybe, just maybe, he could fight the dark ones and survive. Perhaps that was why they had fed him, why they had spoken to him instead of killing him outright. But whether it was hope or cowardice, he could not tell. The dark ones hissed, their shadows stretching across the square. The humming grew into a roar, shaking the stones. The traveler's chest heaved with breath, his eyes burning. "You used me," he said, his voice a low growl. "But if you think I'll let them take me, you're wrong. I am not their prey, and I am not your sacrifice." The leader lowered its head, tears dripping into the dust. "Then you will die," it whispered. "We all will die." The traveler steadied his weapon, glaring at the swirling shadows. "Maybe, but if I die, I'll take as many of them with me as I can." And in that moment, the dark ones screamed, a sound that split the night like glass shattering. The hunt was no longer waiting. The hunt had begun in full. The scream of the Dark Ones tore through the ruins. It was a sound that made stone tremble and air burn. The traveler clenched his teeth, weapon raised, as shadows poured into the square. They twisted and stretched, moving faster than any living thing should. Their eyes glowed faintly, endless pits of hunger. The aliens shrieked in terror. The two who had been crouching against the wall fell to the ground, covering their heads. The leader, shaking but determined, crawled forward. Its thin hands clutched at the traveler's leg. "Please," it begged, its voice raw. "If we give you now, they will leave." "It is the only way. Let them take you, and we will be spared." The traveler kicked the hand away, fury burning in his chest. "Spared? You've been living like ghosts, hiding in ruins, waiting for the day you betray someone else. That's not life. That's death drawn out slow." The leader's eyes filled with tears. "We have no choice." It cried, "We are weak. We cannot fight them." "But you—" Its voice broke, trembling with both fear and hope. "You are strong. If you fight, they will kill you. If you give yourself, at least some will live." The traveler's heart pounded. He had seen betrayal before, in war, in famine, in places where survival stripped away honor. But this was worse. To be fed to monsters like cattle, traded away by those too broken to resist. Rage flared inside him, but so did something else, the sharp edge of resolve. "No," he said coldly. "If they want me, they'll have to fight for me." The leader's face twisted in despair. For a moment, the traveler thought the alien would plead again. Instead, it did something worse. With a sudden motion, quick despite its weakness, the leader grabbed the traveler's wrist. At the same time, the other two aliens, shrieking, threw themselves onto him. The traveler staggered, caught off guard. Thin arms clawed at him, pulling, holding, trying to drag him forward. His weapon slipped from his grip and clattered against the stone. He cursed, struggling, but their desperation gave them strength. The leader's voice broke into a scream. "Take him, take him. We give him to you." The Dark Ones roared in answer. Their shadows surged forward, filling the square with writhing darkness. The air grew heavy, suffocating. The traveler thrashed, his muscles straining, fury exploding inside him. "Traitors!" he shouted, his voice echoing. With a surge of strength, he tore his arm free, slamming an elbow into one alien's chest. The frail body crumpled, wheezing in pain. He shoved the other aside, kicking it away. His hands scrambled for his weapon, fingers closing around the grip just as the shadows lunged. The square erupted in chaos. Dark shapes swarmed, their forms half flesh, half smoke. Teeth like shards of glass flashed in the dim light. The traveler fired again and again, bright bursts of energy tearing through the dark. The creatures staggered, screeching, but did not fall. They closed in, their hunger pressing like a storm. The leader screamed, crawling backward as the Dark Ones swept around. The two weaker aliens tried to run, but shadows caught them. The traveler watched in horror as the creatures swarmed over them. Their cries were cut short, their bodies twisting and vanishing as if swallowed by the air itself. Nothing remained but silence where they had stood. The traveler's stomach clenched. It wasn't just death. It was erasure, as if they had never existed at all. The leader shrieked, turning toward the traveler. "Help me, please!" The traveler's face was hard, his voice like stone. "You tried to hand me to them. Now you beg for my help?" But even as he said it, his instincts refused to let him stand idle. He fired again, blasts of light striking the shadows that closed in around the leader. The creatures hissed, pulling back but not gone. They circled, waiting, hungering. The traveler grabbed the leader by the arm and hauled it to its feet. "Run!" he shouted. Together they stumbled through the ruins, the shadows following close behind. The humming grew louder, pressing into his skull, filling his head with whispers. Hungry. Yours. Ours. The words clawed at his mind, threatening to tear him apart from the inside. He shook his head violently, forcing the voices out. His grip on the leader tightened as they ran through broken streets, stumbling over stone and ash. The ruins twisted around them, shadows stretching, blocking paths, pushing them deeper into the city. The leader gasped, its breath ragged. "You cannot escape them. You cannot fight them. They will never stop." The traveler's jaw clenched. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he did not stop. "Then I'll make them chase me forever. But I won't let them win." They stumbled into a wide street, the moonlight faint against the broken towers. For a moment, the Dark Ones held back, their shadows flickering at the edges. The traveler raised his weapon, eyes burning. "I am not your prey," he growled. The humming shifted, rising into a terrible chorus. The shadows swirled, forming shapes larger, darker, more terrible than before. The hunt was not over. It had only grown stronger, and as the traveler faced them, his heart pounding, he realized the truth. Survival would not be enough. He would have to fight not just to live, but to end the hunger of the Dark Ones, before they consumed him, and every world that followed. The ruins shook with the roar of the Dark Ones. Their shadows swirled like a living storm, their eyes glowing in the black. The traveler stood in the middle of the broken street, weapon raised, his chest rising and falling with ragged breath. Beside him, the alien leader trembled, half leaning on him for support, half trying to pull away in terror. The Dark Ones circled, their voices whispering through the air, pressing against the traveler's mind. Hungry. Yours. Give yourself. Give yourself. The words were not spoken with mouths, but with thought, slithering into his skull like cold fingers. He gritted his teeth, shaking his head violently. No, he growled. You don't own me, the leader cried out, clutching its head. Stop resisting. You cannot win against them. No one can. Give yourself, and they may spare us. The traveler's eyes burned with fury. Spare you? Look at your world. Look at your people. They've already taken everything from you. You've been dead for years, you just refuse to see it. The alien sobbed, collapsing to its knees. Shadows stretched toward it, long hands reaching. For a moment, the traveler considered leaving it. After all, it had tried to betray him, had offered him up like a sacrifice. But something inside him twisted. Maybe pity, maybe guilt, maybe humanity itself. He couldn't watch another being fed to the hunger without at least trying. The traveler fired again, blasts of light tearing through the dark. The shadows screamed and recoiled, but not for long. More came, endless, swarming, filling the ruins with their howling chorus. His weapon was almost drained. The energy pack flickered red, warning him that only a few shots remained. His muscles ached, his body screamed for rest, but he stood firm. This was not about food anymore. This was not about survival. This was about choice. He glanced at the alien leader. Its wide eyes stared back at him, broken, guilty, pleading. In those eyes, the traveler saw the truth he had known all along. The aliens were not evil. They were victims. Weak, yes. Desperate, yes. But victims all the same. Their guilt was born from fear, their betrayal from hopelessness. And behind their fear, he saw something else. A faint spark. A faint hope. The traveler turned back to the shadows. You want me? He shouted into the storm, his voice echoing through the ruins. Fine, come and take me. The Dark Ones hissed in unison, the sound sharp as blades. Their shadows surged, rushing toward him like a tidal wave. Teeth flashed, claws stretched, eyes burned. The traveler did not step back. He charged forward. With a roar, he fired again, each shot tearing holes in the storm. He swung the weapon like a blade, striking, pushing, forcing his way through. The humming filled his skull. The whispers clawed at his mind, but he did not falter. For every shadow that closed in, he struck back with fury. The alien leader watched in awe. For the first time in generations, someone was not kneeling, not surrendering, not feeding the hunger. Someone was fighting. And for a heartbeat, the leader believed that maybe the Dark Ones were not invincible after all. The traveler reached the center of the storm. Shadows closed around him, wrapping, clawing, tearing. His weapon sparked, drained, the last shot burning through the dark with a blinding flash. Then it died, useless in his hands. The Dark Ones screamed in triumph. Their voices filled the air with hunger and victory. But the traveler did not stop. He threw the weapon aside, his fist clenched. He fought with bare hands, tearing, punching, kicking, refusing to fall. You will not have me, he roared, his voice a thunder that shook even the shadows. The storm trembled. For the first time, the Dark Ones pulled back just a little, their whispers faltering. His defiance was aflame, and in that flame their hunger wavered. The leader cried out, tears streaming down its face. Human, you fight like no one before. You burn against the dark. You? Its words were cut off as a shadow lunged, dragging it into the swarm. Its scream echoed once, then was gone, swallowed like the others before. The traveler's heart clenched, but he did not stop. He stood alone now, surrounded, drowning in shadows, his strength fading. And yet, his will did not break. The Dark Ones hissed, circling closer. But behind their hunger, something else stirred. Fear, not of his weapon, not of his strength, but of his spirit, of the one thing they could not devour. He laughed, a harsh sound in the storm. You'll never win. Not while humans still fight. Not while I still breathe. And with those words he broke free, stumbling through the ruins, running into the night. The shadows followed, hissing, shrieking, but slower now. They had tasted his defiance, and it had burned them. The traveler did not look back. His body bled, his lungs burned, but he ran. The ruins stretched behind him, the storm howling in his wake. The Dark Ones were not defeated, not yet. But he had shown them something they had never known before: resistance. As he vanished into the wasteland, the whisper of the Dark Ones followed him, soft and cold. "We will find you. We will follow. We will never stop." The traveler's eyes narrowed. His voice, hoarse but steady, cut through the night. "Then I'll be waiting." And somewhere deep inside he knew the hunt had only begun.